I wanted to dedicate a separate short video about framing because it is a little bit different from some of the other content in the chapter, and I think it deserves some attention. So what we're basically going to be talking about is what is framing, some of the terminology that can be used in order to make people feel a certain frame versus others, so God and devil terms. We're also going to talk about two ways in which framing can change people's perceptions, both in terms of terminology and just kind of how attitudes work in general. So what is framing? Framing is basically packaging and positioning a topic in a way that can become appealing. So in other words, I'm going to tap into some pre-existing knowledge or attitudes or mental schema or whatever is in your head. I want to make a connection between something that's pre-existing, that it may be positive, for instance, and the topic that I'm talking about. So if I can create that association or present it in a way that seems appealing, then you're going to like whatever message I'm trying to recommend. So it is usually put in terms that are desirable by the audience. So I want to tell you that this is going to be good, right? So I might use the word best or better or improved, right? And those are words that people tend to like. And if I slap that all over my campaign, then you're going to like that outcome. So for instance, when we start thinking about messages about health, health messages don't talk about health. They talk about a particular behavior and feeling good or looking good or something along those lines. It's not like, oh, you will reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. Oh, that's not what we talk about. When we talk about doing healthy things, we talk about feeling good, right? I want to feel good and I want to look good. And that's the kind of stuff that we talk about. So some examples that we tend to see, you might see this difference between, how we present the information. So I can frame some data, for instance, and talk about it both ways that are accurate, right? I can talk about something being more positive or less negative, right? More positive, 66%, versus the other side might be 33%, right? So another example of this is, looking at this, right? I can say that here's this new product, it's 91% fat-free. But I say it's 9% fat. Those are both accurate pieces of information. Well, people want to hear about how it's fat-free. They don't want to hear about the fat content, right? 9% fat, oh, I don't want that. That sounds terrible. 91% fat-free, well, that's a lot of fat-free. I want that, right? And so the simple framing of information can be useful for us. So other ways we might do this, suppose, not just a number, right, or even an image, but we can use certain terms or terminology that makes us feel a certain way. So some people talk about things like God terms versus devil terms. So these are kind of like ultimate good words and ultimate bad words. So this gets used in politics quite a bit. And so God terms will talk about things being fact. We'll talk about things being progress or moving forward or making good things happen, right? As opposed to devil terms, right? If I want to make you seem particularly bad, I might label you as being communist. I might call you a socialist. I might call you a Nazi, right? These are supposed to be universally negative terms. But based on a collection of terms that were used during some political campaigns, you can see this. There's a list of positive words and negative words that people tend to use. And you can see this play out pretty clearly, right? You can see on the positive list, you have things like share, opportunity, courage, family, liberty, strength, right? Those are the things like, yes, I want to get behind that. You're speaking my language. As opposed to don't vote for that other candidate because they're going to lead to decay and failure and crisis and lie and corruption and liberal and greed and poor and destructive. Those are things that we socially don't like, right? We tend to like one list and we tend to not like the other list. So saying that you're all for liberty is good, and saying that you're against corruption is also good, right? I want to avoid the negative things and seek the positive things, even if my policies actually limit liberty and lead to corruption. But as long as I'm saying the right God terms, I can become appealing, right? My position can sound pretty attractive. Now, there is something else that is useful that I think doesn't get covered in a lot of places, and that is the idea of weasel words. So it comes based on the analogy of how weasels end up stealing their food. So a weasel will sneak up to a nest of eggs, they will crack open the egg, and they will suck out the insides, and they'll leave the egg behind. So it'll look like the eggs are safe, and in reality, it's just an empty eggshell. And that's essentially what we're talking about when we think about the terms. So these are empty words that sound good. So they are words that make you think there's some sort of meaning when there isn't. So what does that mean? Well, some good examples of this. Help, virtually, and other unfinished words. So for instance, if I am going to say I'm going to help you, I'm going to provide some assistance, right? That doesn't say I'm actually making it better, right? This will help you clean your house faster. What am I talking about? A new cleaning product or a flamethrower, right? Both of those help you clean your house. Is my house clean? Well, I mean, there's no dirt anymore because I burned it down with a flamethrower. Did I help you? Sure. That doesn't mean that it's actually doing anything good. And virtually, right? That means not in reality, right? Virtual reality is not reality. So if I'm going to say it leaves your home virtually spotless, I may make your house dirtier. I'm not in reality spotless, right? We use this word because it looks like it's a qualifier term. It makes us not really believe it. So I might use other unfinished words like new and improved. Improved over what, right? Or I might use a term that's better formula, better how. Better because you found a way to make it cheaper and charge me more, or does it actually do something good for me? So a lot of campaigns will end up using these weasel words and make it sound like this great benefit is going to happen to you, even though they now actually make those terms or make those suggestions, right? They don't say this is actually what's going to occur. They say these are, related to the kinds of stuff we're talking about. The last thing I want to talk about is this idea of attitude structure. So if I'm tapping into some attitude that you currently hold, and I'm trying to get you to change your behavior about it, I want to find what is that keystone attitude. So in other words, what is that one concept that is related to a lot of other things in your head? So I kind of create a map of the things that are important to you about a particular topic. So here is an example, right? I can do an attitude structure about Nike running shoes. So my attitude about Nike running shoes is really comprised of a lot of things. How much cushioning, how I feel after a long run, how much do I like the swoosh symbol, the colors, the tread, how much it cost, and those things are related to, my knee soreness. Do I have to wear cushioned socks? Brand status, the weird salesperson that helped me, right? That's going to change how I feel about a particular brand. So these things branch out and are tied into lots of things. So if I'm trying to change your attitude about Nike running shoes, I could tell you lots of things that could change someone's Nike running shoes, but at the end of the day, I'm not actually tapping into things that matter. So I should be talking about cushioning and the color, right? Those are things that matter to you, right? How soft are they and how pretty are they? That's what you care about, right? I could be talking about how it's good value for the money and how you can wear it with jeans, right? All of that in brand status. That's related, but it's not actually what's impacting your decision. So I have to focus on the kinds of content that are related. So this is why framing matters. So if I'm trying to make an association between those things that didn't already exist, I have to change that connection. So if, for instance, you have a negative association between Nike running shoes and weight, so you think that they're too heavy. Well, I might have to change why a heavier shoe is associated with quality, right? So I have to change that association. So I'm going to show you a flimsy light shoe being blown away in my ad as opposed to like having the Nike shoe that resists the wind, and then telling you like you can resist any challenge too when you wear it, right? Oh, that sounds like the weightiness of the shoe makes me feel like that's a quality that I want. I can resist things too, and that's going to make me feel good. And so we want to match people's needs in the content, and we also want to manage people's language concerns. So if there is a phrase that people have that's associated with something that is positive, I want to emphasize that and emphasize the new association I'm trying to make. So if I know that you think that this brand is good value, I remind you good value, and then I also talk about how it has that other quality that I want you to have. So eating healthy sounds difficult, right? I don't want that, but eating healthy makes you feel good. So how feeling good is somehow going to be easy, and I have to create that association. So framing allows me to bring together attitudes that might not have been related. The stronger they are related, the more likely you are to act on them.